Okay, Bhante, thank you for offering this session. So I will begin with question and answer. Perhaps I will begin with my own question, and I just continue with the question that chat with from our friends last session. So my question, yeah, for yesterday, Bhante, you mentioned about the Kuan Yin is the milk of compassion, the Prajnaparamita. So does it mean that if we want to penetrate the emptiness, we should practice compassion like Kuan Yin? Because I also read in a Yogacara text called the Dharmatrata Sutra. He said that even before the Anapanasati, we should practice the Maitri or meditation on loving kindness. So is it like a very important aspect to understand emptiness? So we should have this compassion, Bhante. Yeah.
Oh, this is a very good question. I am very glad you are asking me such questions, which gives us a challenge to think deeply. So in our text, we have it is written that when the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara practiced the deep, very important, it's deep transcendental wisdom, he looked down in Sanskrit at the five aggregates. This is our world, no matter whether we are Buddha or we are simple beings. Our world is the five aggregates. And he understood them to be empty of self-existent nature. So this is very important. Now, in the great Prajnaparamita Sutra, if I remember well, in the Kumarajiva's translation, the Buddha says to Shariputra, the wisest of the disciples, that this teaching, meaning here teaching of the transcendental wisdom, can only be understood by faith. If you don't have faith, this is very important saying. If you don't have faith, you cannot understand the Prajnaparamita teaching, because it is very deep. Now you remember, for example, in the Lotus Sutra, Sadharma Pundarika, many of the disciples, they leave because they are not satisfied, right? You remember? So they leave and they don't want to listen because it is they are not interested. They have already realized what they have realized. They are not interested. So the transcendental wisdom means non-duality. Now our world, non-duality means beyond abhuta parikalpa. Abhuta parikalpa means beyond the dualistic construction of our world. Now, when you investigate deeply, you will see that actually almost all our experience, if we are already very experienced meditators, and all of our experience, if we are not experienced meditators, is in terms of duality. There is a real I and there is a real color, and so on. So it is not easy to accept that there is something beyond duality. And in transcendental wisdom, that which is beyond duality is called emptiness. This is very important to understand. Emptiness in the sense of transcendental wisdom, not in the sense as it is taught in Theravada and so on. Eo ipso means the state of non-dual wisdom, nirvikalpa jnana. And this non-dual wisdom is beyond the understanding of most of us, unless we have already experienced the nirvana or the highest reality or emptiness as it is called. And even if we have experienced it, we still are subjected to duality. So actually, these teachings of the Transcendental Wisdom Sutra, the Buddha teaches to the Arahat, like Subhuti, like Shariputra. They are all already Arahat. So it is easier for them to understand that what actually non-duality means, because they are already pure. In transcendental wisdom, non-duality means purity. Purity means non-duality. And ultimate purity is actually non-duality. As long as we have the vasanas, we have the energies which divide the subject and object, we are, so to say, we are not on the way to realize the Dharmakaya. The difference between the realization of the Bodhisattva and the realization of the Arahat is the concept of Dharmakaya. The Bodhisattva realizes Dharmakaya, the disciple realizes Nirvana. But Nirvana and Dharmakaya, they are similar but cannot be said to be the same. According to Madhyamika, they are actually same. Only their use is different. According to Yogacara, actually they are different because the transformation of the consciousness due to the remaining vasana is not yet perfect. It becomes only perfect in the state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. So this is very important point. We do not understand non-duality. Even if we understand it, we understand it only very vaguely. So in order to practice the transcendental wisdom thoroughly, this thorough practice is, or according to Prajnaparamita Sutra, is based on faith. So this is very significant. In a way, when you study the history of Buddhism, with the Mahayana, the emphasis turned from the Abhidharma analysis of the rupas and namas to the faith. So this was a significant development which influenced all of the history of Buddhism, because all these dharmas explained in Abhidharma in a different way, in Sarvastivada, different way in Sautrantika, different way in Theravada, different way in other traditions which we don't have. yet they believe that they are the ultimate reality. So how can something which is impermanent can be ultimate reality? And the ultimate reality is not the object of analysis, but it is the object of faith. So the emphasis changes. And this was a very significant development, which in a way approaches Buddhism to the so-called theistic religion. Buddhism is not theistic, but this emphasis on faith also has kind of some theistic undertone. Our rationality is not enough and is not sufficient to understand the ultimate reality completely. It will always be deficient. So in the Mahayana tradition, as you know, due to this, the emphasis shifted from the analysis to logic. The Mahayana shifted emphasis from analysis to logic. So you need faith and logic, and this is now the main object of study in order to realize the highest. So this is the tradition taught in Nalanda and other Buddhist universities from the Gupta time. And the same emphasis on faith also is prevalent not only in Buddhism, but also in all other Indian religions, in the Brahmanical religions, and in Jainism also. The emphasis shifts to faith. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, and so on. So, and in Buddhism, Namo Amitabha, right? Very difficult to understand Amitabha, but it becomes the object of faith, and the main trend in Chinese Buddhism and in Buddhism spread from China to other countries. Okay.
Okay, Bhante. So I just want to give a chance for other friends to ask first. If not, then I can continue with another questions. So perhaps Pak Agus or anyone. Yeah, and thank you for the answer, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you, Hendrik. I just would like to know a practical question, still following Hendrik's question actually. I want to know, Bhante, you are very long time, you were trained in Abhidhamma, in Southern tradition. And I would like to know what the Prajnaparamita tradition make you different. I mean, what the benefit of this tradition for you? Or imagine if you do not learn Prajnaparamita, and then what the difference? What happened? That's especially for your practice. For your practice, for practical question, for your practice, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, I will tell you, this has to do more with my personal purview of Dharma rather than with the Dharma itself. We all approach Dharma with our background. And as you may know, my background is in Chinese studies. And so before becoming a monk, I studied Chinese. Because of Chinese, I became very interested in Indian Buddhism, in Buddhism in general. So I went to India, studied Sanskrit, and my emphasis was on, I studied more the Mahayana teaching, because in Chinese Buddhism and in Sanskrit, you study mostly Mahayana teaching. So after studying in India, I returned to Europe. I was living in Germany at the time, was a refugee in Germany. And I met a Japanese Zen teacher. So I followed him to Japan and stayed 1 year in Japan and trained in the Zen tradition. But I was not happy there, because I was only hoping to meditate, sit. But most of the time I am digging carrots and turnips and working very hard. Then only meditation was like 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes in the evening, and I only wanted to get rid of all my troubles and become Buddha as soon as possible. So I became frustrated, and because I had some good connection with Sri Lanka in Germany, so I went to Sri Lanka and became the Theravada monk, and took ordination in the Theravada. And I am very grateful for that. I could stay in the forest, practice only sit if I wanted. And when I had some little, I always emphasize shamatha. So when I thought I had some base in shamatha and my Chinese connection very strong, so I took Chinese ordination in LA with the Fo Guang Shan, and they invited me to teach there in the English institute, forming the monks to go abroad as missionaries. And from them, I went to meet Master Shen, and I was very impressed and stayed with Master Shen. But then again, started teaching and studying, and not happy. So I decided to go to Burma, because I heard of the very famous teacher, Paok Sayadaw, who is teaching based on shamatha, the analytical meditation. So I went to Burma and stayed 3 years in Burma. And after that, I have 2 ordinations, Chinese. And so I don't like all these Theravada rules, and did not like them from the very beginning, because I was trained in Zen. So I again changed color and became a Chinese tradition. And because I was assistant teacher to Pao, they started inviting me to different places to teach, among others also Malaysia. At that time, I did not go to Indonesia. I went regularly to Malaysia, Singapore, and India, Nepal, and so on. And so that's it. It's a personal, it has nothing to do with the Dharma. We are all determined by our background. This is my personal background, which made me what I am. And having taken the 1 year training in Zen, I was unable to take these Theravada vows too seriously. It was impossible. When you have the Zen training, it's very difficult. So this is not for me, but I'm so grateful. I was given this opportunity in Theravada. It is unique. You can abandon everything, stay in a meditation center in a remote place and just devote yourself completely to the practice. This is very difficult in any other tradition. Okay, Agus, you are satisfied? So don't think about Dharma. This is just a personal background, nothing to do with Dharma. We are all causes and conditions. And this is also Dharma. Okay, any other question?
Okay, Bhante, I just actually curious because you mentioned before about the Nirvikalpa dhyana. What is it, Bhante? Actually, I just read some about that, but I'm not really understand. But yeah.
Nirvikalpa jnana is very simple. It is the jnana means knowledge based on absence of vikalpa. Vikalpa means differentiation, or rather holding to differentiation. When you study Mahayana, and we will come to it in our text also, the emptiness is the middle way. And middle way also means kya-ming. Kya-ming namena that whatever is established on the base of illusionary names. The names have no reality. The concepts have no real reality, but our reality is based on concepts. And we are, so to say, defiled by our concepts, by our views, because we hold to them. And we hold to them because we don't understand abhuta parikalpa. We don't understand there is no real subject and no real object. So the views are very important. The concepts are very important. They rule us, but we should understand their establishment is illusionary. They do not exist in reality. So understanding this is called nirvikalpa jnana. You do not base yourself on holding to differentiation. In Chinese, it is translated fenpie, but it is not just fenpie. We definitely need differentiation, but it is holding to differentiation. And according to Buddhism, especially Madhyamika, our defilement is nothing else but the holding to our views. And the emptiness is the doctor, the supreme doctor, which cures us from all views. This is what Nagarjuna actually says in Mula Madhyamika Karika. The emptiness is only a medicine to cure us from holding to views. And we are holding to views. Good views, bad views. Holding to bad views is very dangerous, but even holding to good views is due to not understanding thoroughly the Dharma. This is a Madhyamika message. This is Nagarjuna's message. And this message is very important. It does not mean you are a Buddhist, you don't hold to the views. See, in Burma, in Sri Lanka, many monks, even they have the extreme views, and they hold to them very fast, very adamantly, even willing to kill due to that. So this is the very deep misunderstanding of Buddhism, and this should really, that's why the Buddhism is very important for our world. See, all the wars are due to holding to views. Now the present war is nothing but due to holding to completely distorted views. Okay.
Okay, Bhante, thank you for the answer. And there is a question from Brother Tony Mustika. He asked that Bhante, how to explain relation between Vikalpa and Prapancha, and how both of them relate to Vasana.
Okay, this is a very complicated thing. We would need a long time. We are not only supposed to answer questions, we also have to teach. Now, Vikalpa is, as there are all 8 kinds of Vikalpas you will find in the Yogacara tradition. We don't go into it now. Anyway, the Vikalpa means that you are holding to differentiation based on actually self-existent nature. Prapancha has a similar meaning. Prapancha means you are on the base of attachment, on the base of lobha, the greed. You are expanding your perception and your sensation. In Buddhism, perceptions and sensations, the sanya and vedana, they are called the chitta sankhara. Chitta sankhara means that which moves the mind. The nature of our mind, the real mind, this is very important for understanding transcendental wisdom. The real mind does not move. It moves with the help of the mental factors. Mental factors move the mind. And among the mental factors, the most important mental factors that move the mind is the perception and feeling. When we have greed, our perceptions and our feelings expand into infinite chains. And these chains of expansion of perception and feelings due to greed, due to attachment, they are called prapancha. In Chinese, they translate Xi Lun. Very nice translation. It means you enjoy, you expand all kinds of theories or views or ideas. Expand and expand and expand and enjoy. Enjoy in Buddhism means also another word for attachment. So you expand by enjoying the expansion of perceptions and sensations, which creates a new karma and accumulate new karma. So this is prapancha. So vikalpa means differentiation. Prapancha means expansion of perception and sensations related to it by means of attachment. And as we know, students of Buddhism, due to attachment, there is suffering. Due to accumulation, accumulation based on greed, there is suffering. Accumulation of what? Accumulation of samskara. So this accumulation of samskaras is based on differentiation and on greed. The differentiation and greed, they are the base of our defilement. Holding to differentiation and greed. This is Buddhism. Okay?
Okay, Bhante. Thank you. And Mr. Agus want to ask, Bhante, would you please explain a little bit about Wu Nian of the Platform Sutra and how it relates to Sunyata? Yeah, Platform Sutra by Hui.
Yeah, the Nian here means actually similar to Vikalpa. Nian translates here Vikalpa. So Wu Nian means not indulge in differentiation, not indulge in thinking based on differentiation. So this makes sense because we indulge in thinking based on differentiation and we create endless chains of thought which prevents us from seeing the real nature of our experience. Zen is a teaching of Wu Nian. Wu Nian means of not of direct experience. This is the best explained in Yogacara, and Zen is to great extent based on Yogacara. You have to see very clearly that all the differentiations, they come from the thinking. So no thinking, no differentiation. When you don't think, don't differentiate, you are at the base. Then you see things as they really are. Seeing exactly taught in Theravada also. When seeing, only seeing. When hearing, only hearing. When thinking, only thinking. No need to attach. So we will come to it in our text also. This is, as Shariputta explains, the black bull is not an obstacle to the white bull. It is a yoke between them which is the obstacle. So the eye is not obstacle to the color, but it is the attachment coming from the mind between them which brings the obstacle to our seeing of the color, and so on. So we don't realize that we ourselves, due to our vasanas, we have imposed duality on our experience. Originally, it was not there. Pen Lai Wu Yi Wu. Originally, it was not there, but we have put it on into our mind. So this emptiness means purity. Pen lai wu yi wu, ke chu rang chen ai. If there is nothing from the very beginning, how can the defilements arise? How can the dust arise in the mirror of the mind? And what means the understanding that our reality is established only by illusionary names means the middle way, means the emptiness. This is the great teaching of the Nagarjuna, and it is also Zen. So let us finish here, otherwise we will never finish our text. And let us continue our text. And next time again, we will devote, say, half an hour to the questions and answers, and 1 hour or more to the text. But we can still answer one more question, place for one more question, maybe somebody other than Hendrik and August. Any other questions you have, please? Una, no question?
It's on the chat actually, Bhante. I just read from people. People just text on the chat and I read it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is from Jono. So he asked, wait, I will. He asked, Bhante, as a lay people, we mostly trap into two views because of our perception. When we practice into non-dualism, sometimes we have been looked as non-decisive person and been looked by society surrounding us as wrong. Have you experienced this kind of situation and how you handle it? Bhante. Yeah, it's from John.
Yes, very important question also. The essence of Buddhist wisdom, this is written even in the Abhidharma Kosha, is the mindfulness. We have to be mindful of the present situation. To be mindful means to have firm perception of the present attention. When we have the firm perception of the present perception, our mind does not wobble. And then we can deal with the things very effectively. But because precisely connected with what we have discussed before, because we don't believe in the present experience, but we believe in our notions, how things should be and how things should not be. Therefore, we trying to practice Buddhism, but we are in trouble because we cannot decide. We cannot decide because we want to decide not by practice, but by our imposition of views on the practice. So it is so important to be present with whatever situation there is. I myself am studying, everybody is studying. It is not easy because when we get into difficult situation, we always get excited. But we get excited because precisely we hold to our view that it should be like this, should not be like that. We do not accept the situation as it is. Therefore, we practice mindfulness, but we lose it in critical situations. When we meditate, the mindfulness is quite easy. But when we are about to miss the plane, and when we are about to be bothered by someone or by some very special feeling, very strong feeling, we forget everything about mindfulness. That means our mindfulness still needs long practice. It has not ripened yet. Mine also has not ripened. When we have ripened mindfulness, we are an arahat. Arahat, mindfulness has ripened. And this is very difficult. So we can practice mindfulness in some meditation situation, but when it comes to some challenging situation, we bound to forget mindfulness. Even good meditators like that. Do you agree?
Yes, Bhante. Okay, Jono say
Okay,
thanks to
shall
Bhante. Yeah.
we leave the questions for now, or
Yeah.
you want one more critical question?
I think no more question, Bhante. Bhante can continue with the sutra.
It's like today for next week, and we can discuss a little longer, say if necessary 45 minutes, but let us keep at least 1 hour for the teaching. Everybody agrees? So we come back to the Prajnaparamita Hrdaya Sutra. We have started with the first part, explaining. Last time I used Sanskrit, now I can use Chinese. Guanzi zai bo sa xin shen bo zhe bo lo mi do shi zhao jian wu yin jie gong du yi jie ku. This is not in Sanskrit. Good, I have started with Chinese, but it is added with Chinese. The noble Avalokiteshvara, while practicing the transcendental wisdom, examined wisely the 5 aggregates and realized or saw that they are empty. And this realization, this seeing, tu yi qie ku, it is that which goes beyond all suffering. Tu means to go beyond. This part is missing in Sanskrit, but it is very significant. So by seeing the 5 aggregates as being empty, empty of what? And empty of self-existent nature, you go beyond all suffering. Now, this is what the noble Avalokiteshvara saw in the samadhi of transcendental wisdom. So, go beyond all suffering is the middle way. I have explained. According to Nagarjuna, you can study the Mula Madhyamika Karikas, the emptiness is nothing but just the middle way, and the middle way is nothing but, this is non-dualistic approach, transcendental wisdom approach, is nothing but understanding that that reality as such, the existence as such, that means self-existent existence, not the related existence, is nothing but only illusionary names. There is no such thing as true existence. There is no such thing as true non-existence. All that there is precisely is the dependent origination. And whatever we see in terms of existence or non-existence, or neither existence, or of both existence and non-existence, and neither existence nor non-existence, whatever we see in terms of dualistic differentiation, that is nothing else but the reality established by the illusionary names. You have a verse in the Sutta Nipata which says, ya cha loke panyati na ta upeti muni. The muni, the wise one, the silent one, is one who does not attach to any samutiyo. Sorry, I said panyati. Samutiyo does not attach to any conventions which are prevalent in the world. He uses these conventions, he uses these concepts, but he becomes a muni, he becomes a wise one when he uses them but does not attach to them. We are using the concepts of the world, we are using the samuti, the conventions, but we cling to them. We become the wise, silent sages when we use these concepts, we use these conventions because we have to live in them, but do not attach to them. So this is precisely the meaning of emptiness. Not to attach. The world attaches to the conventions of existence, non-existence. But these things, as far as reality is concerned, they have never arisen. They are false. Of course, there are good conventions and bad conventions, but these good conventions and bad conventions, they are always changing. What we believe to be correct now, our ancestors saw as criminal acts, or so it is always changing. And how can the changing reality be something true? This changing reality has never really arisen. This is the essence of Madhyamika. This is the essence of Yogacara also. The reality as we see through our concepts has not really arisen. So this makes sense. Then he says, in Sanskrit we have iha. He says, in this teaching, which is not in Chinese again, 是不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色，受想行识亦复如是。He says the form is not different from emptiness, and emptiness is not different from form. This is very, very significant. So there is no, what does it mean? There is no form without a cause. Form can never arise without a cause. Form without a cause simply does not exist. And if form is a result of a cause, so the cause and the result, they are interrelated. So there is no such thing as a real existence of a form separate from other phenomena. Here being the sensations, the perceptions, the will formations, and consciousness. This is what actually we experience when we experience, nothing else. And it starts with form, because the form is the, using the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, the form is that to which the self attaches. The self attaches to the body. The self attaches to the body because it wants to enjoy. So the rupa or form is that to which the body attaches. The sensation is that, the form is that to which the self attaches. The sensation is what the self wants to enjoy. We are greed because the self wants to enjoy. In order for that, it needs a perception. Perception is that which the self wants to see. And for that, it needs a will and will formations. That is what the self, what is make the self move. And the essence of the self is the mind. There is no self without the essence, and the essence of the self is the mind. So Buddhism is the dependent origination. Dependent origination explained the samsara. Samsara is explained, this is symbol of Buddhism, symbol of India, the wheel. The wheel is turning. When you see a car, when the car is moving fast, what we see actually is the tires moving. When we see the tires moving, we will see that which is next to the tires, and that is the sensations, perceptions. We have to see the tires moving, then we will see that which is close to the tires, that is sensation, perception. Then that which makes them move to the object, the will formations, we hardly see. And that which is in the center of the wheel, the axis, the mind, we don't see. We have the impression it's not moving at all. But the 5 aggregates do not leave the self, but also self does not leave the 5 aggregates. Both ways around. So Nagarjuna clearly points out the Buddha has taught the non-self, he has taught also the self. He has also taught that neither self nor non-self. All this is, all teachings, they are skillful means. One should not hold to one view. The dependent origination explains the reality which is moving. That is a conventional reality. And through understanding this conventional reality as that which you cannot hold, you get to the ultimate meaning. When you hold it, you will, in one way or another, you will always be frustrated. So the 5 aggregates explain the non-self, but they also cannot be separated from the self, because there is the idea of the self. They are the 5 aggregates. But they have no real existence as such. Real existence means something which does not change. And something which does not change has no cause. And something which does not change does not need to do anything. Wu Wei. Something which does not have cause does not need to do anything. It is isolated. Viveka. In Sanskrit, Viveka, Li, means 2 things. Isolation and wisdom. Both are there. This is very significant. We cannot perceive the 5 aggregates or any of the 5 aggregates separate from the other. And this not separation from the other is the emptiness. And the emptiness is also the limit of reality. According to Nagarjuna, the limit of reality and nirvana, they are the same thing. This is what Madhyamika teaches. The limit of the world is the limit of the reality. There is in Samyutta Nikaya wonderful sutra which explains how a god who has great supernatural powers wants to go to the end of the world. He can fly with incredible speed, but he does not find the end of the world. So he sees his wisdom, despite his great supernatural powers, is not enough. So he goes to the Buddha and asks him how to find the end of the world. And the Buddha tells him, nobody can find the end of the world by going anywhere, by movement. But I say, unless you have found the end of the world, you can never be liberated. So the end of the world is the synonym of nirvana. And you cannot achieve it by going. You can only achieve it by understanding the illusionary nature of your experience, which is the dependent origination. The dependent origination is emptiness. So the emptiness cannot be differentiated from the form, and form cannot be differentiated from emptiness. And the same applies to all the other aggregates, to sensations, to perceptions, to will formations, to consciousness. What does it mean? We cannot experience them in any way except in the state of movement. And penetrating the state of movement as something which is not real. We see it as real because we impose a concept, we impose views, we impose names on it. So this very realization is the realization of the form non-differentiated from emptiness. And the similar thing, all the other aggregates, the same principle. They cannot be separated from emptiness. And the emptiness in Transcendental Wisdom Sutra also implies the purity. But we will come to it. In emptiness, the things are neither pure nor impure. But in emptiness, in ultimate emptiness, yes, they are pure. But in the differentiation, they cannot be pure. Because we differentiate, we are, so to say, separated from the purity of non-holding to anything. So simply saying to exist as form or as feeling and so on, from the point of view of transcendental wisdom, means to have no cause. This is a meaning of to exist. So in this sense, no thing can really exist, because everything we experience as causes and conditions. We cannot experience in any other way. So let's come to the continuation. So we have understood that these 5 aggregates, they are not the self, but they also cannot separate, they cannot leave the self. They are not the self, but they cannot also leave the self. That means they are empty by their very nature. Not to be the self, but also not to leave the self, is to be beyond prapancha. We have to have direct realization to see it. They explain, according to Madhyamika, all Buddha's teachings are like medicine. They only are skillful means to lead us to direct realization. This is the emphasis of the transcendental wisdom. Go, no need to mess around, go for direct realization. And direct realization is beyond words. And what establishes us in reality is precisely these illusionary words. In Yogacara, these illusionary words become the parikalpita, the pienti, the reality which has no real characteristics. But in Madhyamika, no need to bring another reality. When all is emptiness, why to bring another reality? So, surely for we have explained iha in this is very significant in Sanskrit. In this teaching, all the phenomena, they have only one characteristic, the characteristic of emptiness. This is very significant. Surely for Jufa, Kung Xiang, Pushen, Pumie, they do not arise and they do not cease. Why they do not arise? Well, this is the teaching of transcendental wisdom. They are the verses of Nagarjuna, Fa Pu Tsung Zi Shen, Yi Pu Tsung Ta Shen, Pu Tsung Zi Ta Shen, Yi He Shen. The dharmas cannot arise from themselves, they cannot arise from the other, they cannot arise from both the self and the other. In other verses, he says they cannot arise without a cause. So how do they arise? So this is challenge. In reality, nothing can arise, because reality is something which exists really. To exist really means not to change. Actually, you will find the same teachings in the agamas themselves, like Asi Visa Sutta. Buddha is teaching that the four elements, they are like four poisonous snakes. The five aggregates, they are like five murderers. The six inner bases, they are like Sunya Gama, they are like empty village. And the six outer bases, they are like six thieves. So where will you go? Where will you go? nowhere, no place to go. So non-doing, no place to go, means not imposing the, from the point of view of transcendental wisdom, not imposing the idea of real existence on our experience. When you don't impose idea of real existence, you will not impose the idea of non-existence. So in emptiness, there is no place to go, and everything happens by itself. Happens by itself means happens by dependent origination. You, me, you are not in control of dependent origination. The dependent origination does not need a controller. So since, of course, since they don't arise, they cannot cease. That means in emptiness, there is no real time. The second chapter of Mula Madhyamika Karikas, the refutation of time. How can there be time? The past is past, the future has not arisen, and that which is present cannot be separated from the past and the future. So how can you find the time? And in no time, how can there be the arising, and how can there be cessation? So Yogacara has a different view. In Yogacara, actually the things arise and things pass away, but they do it like the two sides of a weight. So it means they are happening practically simultaneously. But we will leave now the differentiation of Yogacara. The Yogacara has to have some reality to establish emptiness, and that reality is a mind. In the mind, the thing illusionary arise and cease. But you don't need, from Madhyamika point of view, you don't need to establish mind to establish the emptiness. So the phenomena in emptiness, they do not arise and they do not pass away. They are neither pure nor impure. Why they are neither pure nor impure? They are what they are. What is the nature of wisdom? Not no samaropa, no apavada. You don't add anything to reality, and you don't take away anything from reality. Apavada, you take away something from reality. Then you have the nihilistic view. You add something to reality, then you have the view of Shashwata, of the eternalism, of the real existence in the world. So from this point of view, when you don't add anything, you don't take away anything, you are connected with the reality as it is. And this reality as it is, we can say, is what is called in Chinese miao yo. Some Chinese schools, especially Huayan, Tiantai, emphasize the miao yo, the wonderful existence. Wonderful existence is there, but it is beyond differentiation in terms of this and that. And this wonderful existence is purity, but it is not purity based on differentiation. And then you cannot add anything, or you cannot take away from this anything. Because why? Because they are pratityotpana dharma. They are the phenomena in terms of dependent origination. There is no other phenomena except the phenomena in terms of dependent origination. The phenomena in terms of dependent origination, what can you add to it? What can you take away from it? When you add to anything to it, when you take away something from it, you do it on the base of the charming, on the illusionary names. Understanding this from the Madhyamika point of view, from Nagarjuna's point of view, is the middle way. The middle way is beyond extremes, and the extreme is existence and non-existence, arising and and cessation, real arising, real cessation, real existence and real non-existence, the real nihilism and real eternalism, and so on. Whatever arises in relation to something other. There is nothing in our experience which does not arise in relation to something other. This state is a state of the emptiness. So the other way to understand it is this arising is not that neither is the same nor different from cessation. The arising is in regard to the cessation, and the cessation is in regard to the arising. They are neither same nor different. Cause and effect, this is the main principle of dependent origination, can neither be the same as effect, nor can it be different from the effect. This state of being neither same nor different is the dependent origination. And only in this dependent origination, the arising and cessation make sense. It cannot make sense by itself, because arising can never be separate from cessation. Purity can never be separate from impurity. And adding can never be separate from taking something away. So if two things are the same, they cannot mix. If the two things are different, they also cannot mix together. So the emptiness give sense to all the phenomena because they can only exist by mixing together. That's how they can arise and pass away. If they are same, they never meet. If they are different, they also never meet. Because they are neither same nor different, they can meet. And they can be neither same nor different only when there is emptiness. Emptiness of what? Of own nature. This emptiness of own nature is the limit of reality, is the nirvana. Cannot be separate from nirvana. Because from the point of view of this logic, the samsara makes sense if there is in relation to nirvana. Nirvana makes sense in relation to samsara. But both cannot exist by themselves. So this is very significant. Our experience is experience of things combining together, and they can never combine together if they are different and if they are same. So same and different, all the differentiation, they are imposed by, they are the illusionary names or illusionary concepts imposed on the reality. And this reality is real. This reality is real in emptiness. So it says, Nagarjuna says, when I say that nothing can exist not empty, how can you say that emptiness exists? If you say that emptiness exists, this is the worst of the views. Emptiness is only medicine to remove all the views. When you remove all the views, you are free. Because from the very beginning, there is no self doing anything. So we have understood the reality to be based on the illusionary names. So now we can come to the negation of reality based on the differentiation of real things. The things are real only because they are related. And they are related only because of emptiness. If there is no emptiness, they cannot be related. And because everything is related and there cannot be anything not related, therefore, because everything, there is nothing which is not empty, therefore the emptiness, even emptiness itself, does not exist as such, non-related. So, therefore, Shariputra, 是古斯离佛 Kung Zhong, in emptiness, there is neither form, nor sensation, nor perception, nor the will factors. These are the 5 aggregates. These 5 aggregates, they cannot have self-existent nature. They exist only in terms of non-self-existent nature. To exist in terms of non-self-existent nature means to be empty. But to exist in terms of non-self-existent nature means actually to exist conventional. The real existence you cannot hold in any way. So this does not mean that in reality there is no form, there is no feeling. Of course there is form, of course there is feeling. Because emptiness does not deny the reality. Emptiness only shows the way how reality makes sense, but it does not deny reality. The emptiness is not opposed to form. Because as we have explained, since everything is not empty, the emptiness also cannot exist. Emptiness is only medicine to cure us from all the views. If you hold to medicine, you are, Nagarjuna says, you are incurable. One who holds if you hold to emptiness, you are incurable. The view, even if according to Buddha, even the view of self as high as Sumeru is better than to hold the view of nothing. But emptiness is only denial of everything in terms of self-existent nature. It is not denial of existence. This is the most terrible misunderstanding. It is not denial of existence. It is relegating the existence into the relative reality. Existence and the highest reality, they cannot go together. Because existence is something which stands. So it is a great misunderstanding to think that in emptiness, it denies the reality of the I. It says no I. In emptiness, there is no I, and so on. The I, of course, is there, but it exists in the relative reality. And emptiness does not deny the relative reality. When you investigate the form, the cause of the form are supposed to be the atoms. When you investigate the atoms, you will not find anything. The same, similar with a year. This is where Abhidharma becomes very useful. When you investigate the ear, investigate the eye eventually is only the sensitivity of the eye and the and the body sensitivity, and which are sensitive to the color. When you investigate them, there is really nothing to hold. They are just atoms. When you hold them, then you are away from the real experience. So this, when there is eye and it has a sensitivity, when there is color, where there is attention to the color, then the mind arises. For all this happens in terms of dependent origination. It does not need any doer there. And this is precisely emptiness. In emptiness, there is no need for doer, no need for feeler, no need for anything like that. Things happen because of causes and conditions. To happen due to causes and conditions means to happen due to emptiness. So you don't need to go very far. Everything that we experience from the point of view of transcendental wisdom necessarily means emptiness, necessarily needs transcendental wisdom. According to the teachings of the transcendental sutras, no realization is possible, no realization of the disciples, no realization of the Buddhas for themselves, no realization of the bodhisattvas is possible without the realization of the emptiness. The realization of the emptiness means a direct seeing of the limit of reality. Direct seeing of the limit of reality is also direct seeing of the limit of the world. The two limits, they cannot be separate. So if the I really exists, then it has no cause. To really exist means no cause. And if it has no cause, if it has a real nature, how can it be? How can it have existing nature? Existing nature means non-changing nature. So the I can only exist because it has no real existing nature. This is a meaning. If it has existing nature, then it can never be the instrument of seeing. It can never be the result of sensitivity, color, attention, and mind all coming together. So here we come. There is no eye, there is no ear, there is no nose, there is no tongue, and there is no the body. The five senses, they are not there. That means they are not there because they don't have own nature. They are based, they are erosion independent origination. To be erosion independent origination means not to be erosion really, because the reality, the real, cannot change. So if they exist really, we have already explained, if the eye exists really, it can never mix with the color. And if the color exists really, it can never mix with the eye. It can never happen. If it is the same, if the eye and the color are the same, they also can never come together. If they are different, they can also never come together. They can only come together because they are neither same nor different, nor both same and different, nor neither same nor different, nor because they have not arisen because without causes. It is also impossible. So their real arising is impossible except in emptiness. So uh, they do not exist. They means they do not exist as independent, real existing natures. They only can exist when they are always in the process of change. And that existence is the relative existence. That which is impermanent can only have relative existence. It can never have it can never be the highest reality. This is very important to understand. That which is impermanent can never be the highest reality. That is why we started in terms of questions. In order to really practice efficiently the transcendental wisdom, you need the faith. This is what Buddha, we have said, tells to Shariputra, that there is really the non-dualistic reality in which the eye and the color arise. To arise means to arise in mutual relation. To arise in mutual relation means to arise in dependent origination. So what does it all mean? That without the dependent origination, there can never be any existing Dharma. And what we experience as existing Dharma is explained here. The five aggregates, the six inner senses, and the six outer senses. In Theravada, these are called the Jnata Parinya, the reality experienced by wisdom. By what wisdom? By wisdom of real differentiation based on reality. But for the Madhyamikas, for the Bodhisattva path, this reality experienced by correct differentiation is only the correct, can only be the correct conventional reality. It can never become the absolute reality, as the Abhidharma teaches. Why? Because the nature or the existence cannot change, that we have explained. So the real nature is that, according to Madhyamika, according to Mahayana, that which we have explained does not do anything. When you do something, you are already imposing something on reality or take something away from reality. To be in reality means not doing anything. Not doing anything is very, very difficult. And because it is so difficult, we have to have faith that it is possible. We always want to do something. But the reality from the point of view of Madhyamika, also from the point of view of Zen, some of us are studying Zen, is effortless, must be effortless. The reality of emptiness is a reality because it is effortless. When you put effort into it, it means you put either you add something to it or you take something away from it. So we come another element of wise differentiation. According to Theravada, when you start Vipassana, first you have to have Jnata Pariñña. You have to have the objects of wisdom. They are explained here, objects of wisdom. If you don't understand objects of wisdom, how will you do Vipassana? But from the point of view of Bodhisattva path, objects of wisdom, they are the true relative reality. But they are not cannot be and can never be the highest reality. Why? Because when we understand the highest reality, we know that the highest reality does not do anything. We always do anything. We always do things. Why we do things? Because we have the self. And precisely the purpose of these objects of wisdom, of the 5 aggregates, of the 6 inner sphere, 6 outer sphere, 18 elements, is to explain the non-self. But the non-self is, we have explained, is also only the conventional reality. Buddha has explained non-self, Buddha has explained self, Buddha has explained neither self nor non-self, because the Dharma is only means. It is not real existence. Real existence, something which you can hold, because it has a non-changing nature, but such a thing you don't find. So, in other words, if these two, that means the inner sphere and the outer sphere, or the 3, the eye, the color, and the visual consciousness, if the 2 or if the 3, they are separate, or if they are same, they can never arise in dependent origination. It is impossible. So whatever arises, independent origination, arises conventionally. Arising conventionally means does not arise really. And this is the true reality. In this true reality, nothing arises really, because there is no real self-existent Dharma whatsoever in our experience. Our experience of the world, of the 5 aggregates, of the 6 inner senses, 6 outer senses, of the 18 elements. These are the objects of wisdom. We definitely need them to understand emptiness. Understand emptiness, understand the conventional truths. Through understanding of the conventional truths, you understand that what is the highest truth. This is Buddhism. If you don't penetrate the conventional truth, how can you penetrate the highest truth? Because, as Nagarjuna shows, the limit of the world is also the limit of the nirvana. There is no other. There is not the slightest difference, says Nagarjuna, between the limit of the world and the limit of the nirvana. So due to emptiness, things can come together. If there is no emptiness, the eye and color can never come together. If there is no emptiness, the eye, color, and visual consciousness never can come together. And the same for all the other. So here we have come to the objects of wisdom in a simple language. When they really exist, they are permanent. When they are permanent, that means they do not exist in our experience at all, because in our experience in the world, nothing is permanent. And if they are permanent, then this is the extreme of eternalism. If they really cease, this is the extreme of nihilism. And the middle path is precisely beyond the extreme of the eternalism and of nihilism. So the emptiness has no real understanding of emptiness, means understanding that there is no real time and that there is no real anything which is eternal or annihilated. Then we come, let us finish here. Then we come to, there is Wu Yan Jie Nai Zhe Wu Yi Shi Jie Wu Wu Ming Yi Wu Wu Ming Jing Nai Zhe Wu Lao Se Yi Wu Lao Se Jin. That explains the dependent origination. When you understand the objects of wisdom, 5 aggregates, 6 inner and 6 outer spheres, the 18 elements, then you can understand the dependent origination. Then you can understand the 4 noble truths. These are the objects of wisdom. We will explain next because we would continue for a long time. So what are the objects of wisdom? Jnata parinya in Visuddhimagga. Jnata means object of jnana, of the knowledge, true knowledge. They are enumerated here, exactly in this passage. First, 5 aggregates. Second, 6 inner bases. Third, 6 outer bases. Fourth, dependent origination. Fifth, 4 noble truths. These are the 5 according to Visuddhimagga, according to here, according to the Abhidharmakosha, same. They are the most important objects of wisdom. When you penetrate them in terms of neither existence nor non-existence, neither arising nor not arising, then you can penetrate the middle path. This is the last passage. The middle path is the liberation. But we will explain next week. Too many informations cause either mental constipation or mental diarrhea. So let us finish here. No mental constipation, no mental diarrhea. Let us try to see things with the eye of wisdom, eye of transcendental wisdom. So that much for today. We have surpassed a little bit our time, but I hope it doesn't matter. No one is hurrying somewhere. So we just relax or try to relax. It's difficult to relax. And we will meet next week and have some more fun together. Okay? So let us transfer merit for the benefit of all sentient beings. 愿以此功德普济一切，我等一众生皆空成佛道。May the merits of this practice spread to all beings so that we all together realize the state of Buddhahood. So that much for today. And next week we start as usual with questions and answers, and then we do some teaching. Okay? And we can do question and answers maximum 45 minutes, and then the teaching for 1 hour. If we don't finish next time, so we will continue. I have a retreat from 14th of April to 24th of April, so we can continue 1 hour after that, and we should be able to finish if we don't finish next week. This text is many things we can explain in a very we can explain in a simple manner, and we can also explain very very wide way, but let us explain in a simple way, and I hope it will be more useful than to bring all these different views and so on. It would maybe lead only to confusion. So we make it simple without explaining the different views of Yogacara and Madhyamika. Okay? And later maybe we can do some other text and go directly to either Yogacara or Madhyamika. Okay, so see you next week. Have a wonderful week, and looking forward to see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Bhante. Bhante, if we may know, it seems like Bhante's voice at the middle of the session, it suddenly become very clear. Is Bhante do something about it? It's very good. Very.
You know, I live in the remote place, so signal here is not ideal. Maybe next week This week I'm doing in my own room, and the signal is not so strong. So next week maybe we do in the other house, and maybe the signal will be better, and they can, yeah.
No, but
But I think
during the in the
my
mid of,
voice,
I think Bhante do something about it, right? Because at the middle of the session, it's suddenly the voice is become louder and very clear, Bhante. So if next week we
but
still
I have
can practice,
I have
it's
not done
wonderful.
anything. It
Oh,
is. I have not done anything. I assure you, it is the signal and the causes and conditions making things better and worse. But I have not moved anything. So if there is any unclarity, so please excuse me. It's not my fault that I have moved something. During this whole teaching, I have not moved computer. I have not moved reproductor. So I am not putting any effort into machinery. I put effort into myself, but not into machinery. Okay. So see you next week, and maybe the reception will be better. And you are recording, so so it's okay. I am not. I have no facility for recording here, but next week I may have.
oh, okay, that's great.
Okay. So see you.
Okay, see you, Bhante. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Bhante.
See you.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Bye.
Kelihatannya Bhante freeze tuh ya. Suaranya tiba-tiba aja bagus.
Ya, cetol banget deh.
Tapi yang terakhir tadi memang iya bener rada tiba-tiba rada. Oh,
Aku
Dengar
masih rekam kok, aku nggak di rumah. Boleh di end meeting nggak?
Boleh,
Supaya
boleh.
rekamanku berakhir.
Oke.
Aku nggak di rumah soalnya aku lagi di jalan. Kalau kau end meeting, nanti masuk lagi aja kalau mau ketemu giring yang sama. Kalau mau
Oh, Novi ini ada unmute.
Di end aja meetingnya
di
Koyohan.
end meeting aja. Kalau mau ngobrol masuk lagi. Tapi
Enggak. Di
Iya,
stop
saya
aja.
punya recording juga nggak bisa stop. Kenapa ya?
ini
Recordingnya
aku yang nggak stop karena komputerku di rumah. Aku di jalan.
Oke. Ini berarti aku stop dulu
Dia
ya.
nggak mau stop.
Iya.
Nggak ada
end
opsi
meeting
stopnya.
semuanya.
Ya, oke ya. Yuk.
Nanti kalau mau
stop
masuk
aja.
linknya masih bisa. Mau
Oke,
ngobrol
nanti
lagi
habis
masuk
ini
lagi.
kalau mau tak kasih link kalau mau. Ya.
Wah, wes.
Oh, udah,
Sama,
oke.
Mas.
Udah, oke.
Makasih.
Ya,
Yuk.
bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Ya,
Take care.
sorry, gue lagi nyetir soalnya.
Ya, take care, hati-hati.